Hi everyone, it's Chris. As I mentioned in a previous video, I wanted to share some more around the topic of leaders providing feedback. Now, the first place to look, of course, is yourself. Now, how do you feel about receiving feedback? What type of filters do you apply? I mean, the fact is, if you don't like it, you will pass this on to your people, your team members. So unless you are open to feedback yourself, you cannot give good feedback to others. So with that said, I'd like to share two of the key aspects of providing feedback as a baseline. Number one, don't tell, instead coach. So instead of telling someone how to do something, ask them what they did, what they could do better, what lessons they learned, etc. So after your team member gives you dialogue around whatever particular topic of interest, it's important to ask guiding questions. For example, and after you spoke to the client again about the problem, what did you realize is better than you should have taken care of the immediate shortage on that order right away? And how have you attempted to solve the issue is better than, well, you should have done this. So good coaching really helps provide some pressure to provide answers, light bulbs, if you will, in this case, from the team member that's being coached. If everything is your idea and you just constantly tell team members what to do all the time, many will simply just nod their head in agreement and have little to no ownership of that going forward. Number two, gather your team. Gather your team in a meeting and communicate to them how you'll be coaching them in the future. Be transparent. I mean, if you were the classic griller, if you will, or someone that spent most of their time perhaps with a supervisor hat on versus the coach, make sure you're prepared to change your coaching, changing that behavior quickly. Otherwise, you erode any trust that you build up. So for example, when you meet with your team, provide them with some tips on how to receive feedback. For example, some of those tips could include that the fact that human nature states that we typically listen for what we don't agree with first, not what we can improve on. It's a natural defensive mechanism, and sometimes we stop listening. This can be hard because many people might be screaming, but that's not how it was, etc. So be sure to discuss how. We all tend to do this in general and show some vulnerability and some examples here. Let them know that it's good to take notes during coaching sessions and to ask questions, the importance of asking questions. And lastly, there are lessons in failure. It's okay to fail and obviously fail forward. So there's just a few things to do when you set up your meeting with your team to talk about coaching. So what's your plan to gather your team?